Hello, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel, to the Friday live chat with Speaker Speak. So thank you for joining us. We're going to have a big night tonight. I want you to go ahead, if you haven't, subscribe, tell your friends, and also like. There are so many things coming up that are just so exciting. This is growing like crazy. And I thank you all for being a part of my special soul family. So thank you so much. But I want to go ahead and bring on our spiritual guest and friend into the chat. And I want to welcome Robert Baer. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
You're fantastic. Let me tell everybody who you are. Robert Baer, he is a former CHIPS police officer. He is also a 3 times near-death experiencer. And he is the co-founder and vice president of Spiritual Awakenings International. So he is so much fun. He is such a delight and so sweet and humble. And he's just, I'm just delighted to have him. So I just thought that we would just have a little chat first, and then maybe talk about how you started and co-founded in this brainchild of yours with the Spiritual Awakenings International, which we say SAI. So beforehand, you got to tell me, how was it being on the highway as a CHIPS officer? Was that freeing or was that stressful?
It was actually probably one of the highlights of my life. I could not believe I did that. I was a policeman for 23 years, and I had been going to school, and a couple of my friends had talked me into going to take some tests for police departments with them.
Okay.
I had no intentions of doing it. I was studying engineering in college, and I was going to be an engineer. And I went ahead. I had a group of friends. We all decided to take the tests together, and to support primarily this one person. And I took the test. Santa Cruz City Police Department. This is in California. Santa Cruz Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, San Jose Police Department. Took a couple other ones. We went from one venue to another, and lo and behold, I got an invite that after I passed the written test to come and interview for the Santa Cruz Police Department. And
you must have done really well.
There was 100 people that had taken the test. So this was right after actually it was during the Vietnam War, and there were a lot of protests and stuff going on in the Bay Area. So I went ahead and I went for an interview. I had really long hair. I didn't think I had a chance. And then I ended up number 1 on the list. So it blew me away. And I took the job on the police department, and that was just a wonderful time period for me. But at the same time, I'd taken the test for the California Highway Patrol, and it was a list that was a 2-year list.
At the same time, what, you bleeped out a little bit?
Pardon me? You hear me? Hello?
Because we do have, probably some NDE energy. Never had this happen. Go ahead, start over, Robert.
I do have that problem with electronic equipment, but anyways, I got an offer, a job to work for the California Highway Patrol, so I changed departments. Went to the academy. From the academy, I went to Watts, South LA, San Francisco, Oakland.
Oh, wow.
Back to my hometown of Santa Cruz. Got promoted, went to East LA as a sergeant. Then I went to San Francisco, Oakland, back to Santa Cruz, and that was my career. And I retired at 44 years of age, and became I'd gone to school and picked up a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, a couple of teaching credentials, and then I got offered a job in higher education at the Oregon Institute of Technology, and that's what started another whole phase of my life.
Wow.
Being
Well,
a
you've done so
professor,
many things.
city manager. I was a tribal administrator for the Great Maidu Nation.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You just so many things that are not even listed in your bio that you've done. How did that happen working with the different Native groups?
They
Native.
actually, somebody kind of headhunted me, and I applied for it, and
Okay.
I got selected. That was another highly competitive thing, and it was a great opportunity. I spent 2001 and 2002 doing that. I also helped in a development of some property down in Mexico. I just did a variety of things, and um, traveled around a lot. Was an international business consultant. I was in maybe 8 to 10 planes a week, and I was
Oh,
everywhere. It was a great life, and so
ex- it's exciting, but it sounds tiring because, as you know, there's a lot of waiting in airports between that time too.
I did.
Sounds exciting, but
I did, and then
well, now, a quick question. I want you to continue on with this brilliant career and life of yours, but do you
I'm,
still do you still ride a motorcycle? Curious.
no, I don't. Um,
Okay.
I did until the time I had my about the time I had my situation where I had my NDE, the big one.
Okay.
I had I'd actually
Heart attack on the plane.
yes, I did. I had in Phoenix, Arizona, and I don't know if you want me to go into that at all, but I was
Well,
I think I
maybe touch on it a little bit because I know we talked about it in the interview, and some people already saw that. But not to dismiss it, but it did. I would like to hear how it did change you. And I know you're very spiritually aware, and we have a lot of spiritually aware people here. And I really we didn't get into that part of it when we talked with the interview about what kind of after effects. I know you still aren't big on planes after that, but as far as that you can touch on that, but it changed you. You weren't the same after that. Maybe you could speak of the after effects and how you see things spiritually now, because I know the questions are going to start coming, and then we'll talk about SAI and how that all formed. But I want people to know you also. I mean, you're just so cool all the way around, but also as a spiritual person, because you have so much wisdom with you, although you're so humble. So I have to kind of pull it out of you. But yeah, so tell us how that kind of just go over it. I mean, people might have already heard that in the interview, but how did that rock your world?
uh, to the point that I'm probably not the same person that I was. I've been told this by several people. Um, I was probably a double A personality. And
It's like a battery.
yeah, I mean, it was, by the book, black and white. Um,
Okay.
and when I had my near-death experience, my whole perception on life totally changed. Every day is a gift. I mean, I,
Oh
I've
yeah.
had I've had 4,315 extra days of life, and
Mhm.
every one of them I've been so grateful. And spiritually, it really changed me too. I um, it was a total change, and probably in my personality and the way I perceive life. And life is so precious, you don't realize it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. People
Everything
are
is
precious.
small stuff. It's small stuff, and you don't realize it till you've been where those of us that have been on your show have been. It's it's just it's unbelievable what happens. Um, I also have other effects that I've had where I set off electrical things like
Okay.
microwaves.
Got
I can't go to an airport and go through a TSA inspection thing and not be called in for a specialized search because my
Okay.
body just sets off all the stuff in there, the scanners and everything, and it's just been a total different way of having to live my life. Um, Same thing with the with some of the after effects. Uh, I have bouts where I see different colors and stuff that I saw when I was
Okay.
had passed
Like
on.
auras? Like auras?
Pardon me?
Like auras, you mean, or just visions of color?
Just visions of color, and I have I've developed medium tendencies that
Mhm.
I have not developed. But I have to live with them. They're a reality, and it affects me. That affects me about every day too. Where
Mhm.
something will happen, I get downloads of information that I've learned to pay attention to, and yeah, it's changed my life. I have what I probably have issues with that, but it's all good. Everything's good. It's
Well, you use it now. I mean, I said, here's the thing. When you started changing, I guess you had to change your the people around you, your friends to a degree. Otherwise, I guess did you go through a period that I mean, I don't know. I mean, not that you have to tell me if you went through a divorce, but I will say this, that 70% of near-death experiencers are not with their spouse, because think about it. They married, this person, and now you've got another person that may sound like they're crazy because they're talking about all these spiritual matters. So, I mean, I can understand that. So you kind of have to rebuild your life with people that get your lingo. I mean, you could say anything and you're like, oh, I think it's so cute. You said a couple times to me, you go, well, this may sound weird. I'm like, you don't know my world. Nothing is weird to me. I live in, it's my normal. So you are normal to me. So, but did you have to change that?
yeah, I did, and quite frankly, for example, my police friends, I couldn't really discuss these things with them. I knew that they would look at me like, you know, Robert's
He's lost it.
crazy, crazy, and I had a real hard time coming forward. It was the TV show I Survived Beyond and Back that brought that out of me, and I was interviewed
Really?
for that. Yes, and um, when I had my interview, it was kind of an unusual thing because they wanted me to fly to New York, and I said, no, I'm not going to fly to New York. And they said, well, will you fly to Washington, D.C.? And I said, no. And they said, well, how about Los Angeles? And I said, no. I said, I said, I died in an airplane. I
Not
have a
really fond of
phobia.
that.
Oh, okay. So I ended up driving to San Jose, California, and I did an interview in a television studio there. But at the end of the interview, the producer was from New Zealand, and we had quite a nice talk. And I asked her, I said, "What I say to you, does that sound normal from what somebody that's been through what I've been through?" And she goes, "Well, there aren't many people that have been deceased for 45 plus minutes, and then 10 minutes another time, and two different types of experiences." And but she said it's pretty consistent with what she'd heard, and
Okay.
that kind of made me feel a little more relaxed. And then when the TV show came out, um, I ended up being like almost like a cult following I had. They had pictures of me in uniform and with my picture of my dog that I saw during my life review that was off to the side,
Okay.
and so it just resonated. And the next thing I know, I'm getting all these different requests to speak in front of different groups.
Well,
So I just started to do
What
it.
a way to come out. Well, the thing is, it's not easy coming out talking about this because people that, it's not uncommon for people to even remember later in life, or they kept it, or if they do know, okay, kept it as a secret, these things that don't quite add up in our normal reality. And so when they come out, it's a tremendous fear at first. And to me, it's even more than that because it's a sacred experience, it's a personal experience, and it just makes you feel raw. So it takes a lot of courage to do what you did. And I love how you come out immediately on a TV series. No, you don't work up to things, just immediately on a TV series.
Well, I kind of mentioned this to you before, and I kind of allude to this every time I talk, because where we've been when you've passed and gone through, like I went through a life review and um, things of that nature. There was the higher power there. I was so humbled by I couldn't even look at the higher power. It still bothers me to even talk about it today, but um, it's probably no different than what somebody like Marco Polo or Christopher Columbus or even Mark Twain did when they would go off on their um, adventures, and then they'd come back and have to report them. They didn't have photographs or video, or
Did
it
it have
was
what?
basically it was basically what their account of what they saw, like in the
Right.
New World or whatever. And that's what happens when I talk and other people talk, like you, Tamara, or maybe some of the other people. It's um, and quite frankly, I just speak what I experienced, and it's up to the listener to determine whether or not they want to believe it or not. Um, I'm at that point in time where it doesn't matter to me personally. I wouldn't be offended if
You
somebody.
don't care.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. And but um, it takes a while to get to that. It took me a while to get to that point. It it took a while.
To just like, it is what it is, and this is a part of me, and if you don't understand, I get it. I can see your point of view. I'm fine with that. So, the message, it's funny, this message, especially like on this channel where we talk about near-death experiences, spiritual experiences, Kundalini awakenings, UFOs, and who knew, to me, this is, I'm learning all the time, but UFOs, abductees, and near-death experiencers have things in common, which I did not realize that. That's another phenomenon. And so, and there's more, time travel, different dimensions, realities, which comes
Sure.
up often, out of body remote viewing, different dimensions, realities, portals, which I think all people that are connected to the other side, they're a portal. Um, this comes up even with near-death experiences. They often talk about portals or different realities. So, and by the way, I posted for everybody on the TV episodes, I should say episodes, but I'm typing fast. Survived and Back. It's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's free. Once you have that, it's the whole series, and you can actually hear Robert's story. So
It's
there's
it's
so much.
actually it's actually I survived beyond and back.
Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, did I not do that right? Let me see. I survived beyond and back. It's true. That's what it says. Okay. All right. So I messed up. It's still the same link. So let me get that corrected. All right. So I wanted to have that. I'm trying to answer people and then do that. So that is the name of it. And I'm going to put this here, and it is on Amazon Prime. And you've got that.
I wanted to say, just speaking at different groups, I was in Arizona. I spoke to 3 different groups in Arizona, probably about a little over 2 years ago. And there was a board member uh, for the IONS International Board of Directors that was there. And he started to talk to me about my background.
Okay.
And what had happened there is I ended up being asked whether or not I wanted to possibly be a director on the board, because I had a lot of board experience and corporate experience in the corporate world. After leaving law enforcement, I did corporate type stuff, and my consulting had to do with corporate. So I ended up um, going to Sarasota, Florida at a big IONS board meeting, and was interviewed by the board and got selected for the board of directors. So that took me into a different phase of
Okay.
which leads me to where I am now.
Okay.
And
With as far as forming and co-founding in this brainchild of yours,
yeah,
we had Dr. Yvonne Kason's with the spiritually awake. I'm so tired. Spiritual Awakening International (SAI). Yeah, maybe tell us how that was formed and how did it come about? How did you meet Dr. Kason?
it was at that meeting in Sarasota. She was on the board,
Okay.
and I was there, and of course I met everybody on the board, and I actually liked everybody on the board, and I did the best I could at helping them with some of my corporate background and experience. But I got to talking to Dr. Kason individually because there was going to be a big election for the board of directors for president,
Okay.
vice president, and secretary. And she was nominated to run for president. And she happened to call me one day, and we started to talk. And she said, "Would you like to run as a slate as a vice president candidate?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah." I thought about it for a while, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do that with you." And so that's how we first started to meet and talk about things that pertained to more than just ions. Ions was just basically near-death studies, but I
Right.
was interested in some of the other stuff. And you
Yeah, there's
talked
so
about
much more.
UFOs. I mean, I like UFOs.
Yeah.
I had grown up my mother was Catholic, so I had a kind of a Catholic upbringing in a way, and so the things that happened to me from a near-death experience, I started to think in terms of more than just the Catholic perception, um, which includes like reincarnation and things of that nature, and things that I would have never considered before. And
Yes.
my past life memories, they had a bearing with this too. And um, Dr. Kason was, if you ever get a chance to have a one-on-one with her, she's a
She's amazing.
pioneer in the field, and she's been doing it for 40 years. She was
Oh,
not only a medical doctor, but a licensed psychotherapist. And every time I talked to her, I felt like I was laying on a couch somewhere. It was that type of experience. But we started to talk, and it evolved that we started to talk about doing something different than ions. And it was there. It was out there, out in the open. We kept alluding to it back and forth, and that's how we ended up. From that we ended up starting Spiritual Awakenings International.
well, I know that Dr. Von Kason, she was on the show last Thursday premiered, and she is known as the mother of spiritually transformative experiencers, STEs,
Yeah,
coining that term. She coined that
yeah,
term, but she has 40 years of research with NDEs, spiritual transformative experiences, spiritual emergencies, Kundalini awakenings, and all of that. And she has this phenomenal book. It's called Touch by the Light, which really, if you guys listening, I say guys, I mean girls, I just something I say, but if you all listening here, really, you should take a look at that book, because it does go through each chapter. It covers everything you could possibly imagine of spiritual things that could happen. But before we begin, I have a very important surprise for you. Guess what? We have Dr. Yvonne Kason here. Yay! Hello.
Hi.
So
Hi,
you can
Robert.
talk
Hi,
about
Tamara.
yeah, isn't it?
We're going to talk about Spiritual Awakenings International.
We're going to talk about her now. I'm sure her head was like this big in the green room as we're blowing her up, which is all true and so much more. So, I mean, and both of you with 2 plane crashes, 2 near-death experiences with plane crashes, one with, or not plane crashes, one with the heart attack on the plane, one with the plane actually goes down and you're trying to save it on the wing and it's icy. And then you had a patient in the back and then couldn't save. Oh, it was, I mean, really a movie should be made out of both. So it's kind of interesting. You both have this plane relation. Don't you think that's unusual? Yeah. Not the same thing, but still unusual.
Yeah.
So, and I know I want to go over how you met about spiritual awakenings. And I want you guys to know, put this back up. Let me just say this real quick before I forget. It's free membership. They, I know in June they kind of, open the doors, and it's just still just kicking off. They're already in 41 countries. This thing is blowing up, and the membership's free. They have high quality speakers free every month,
Yeah.
and I mean, my gosh, they're going to have different languages they're a part of, but the quality of the level of the speakers and experts, you will recognize names. But sign up here for free, and then you can be a part of that. And then before we begin too much further, I don't know if either one of you want to mention the good news about the Seeking Heaven channel and me and SAI.
Well, sure. As the president of Spiritual Awakenings International, I'm delighted to announce that the Seeking Heaven show has been approved and is now officially a Spiritual Awakenings International affiliated group network. Yay, Tamara!
Yay! And I'm so thrilled. And that was organic because I just really love their vision and their message. And it was just an organic thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm doing the same thing. I want to build a soul community where we're all learning together in a safe place where you can say whatever, and I'll make sure that you shine. If you're not comfortable with saying all that, you don't have to say all that. But if you do, I'll stand behind you. And you two are trying to do the same thing, to have a place, not only just by NDErs, for NDErs, but also for anyone that is a truth seeker that wants to spiritually grow and can do it in a safe place where you don't feel silly asking questions, or just feeling a part of a family. And it's just I mean, honestly, I did not, every now and then in life has wonderful surprises. And you two are not only incredible experts in the field, but just darn nice people that just do the right thing. What a concept, that just treat people the way they should be, and have such an inviting, loving environment. And the stuff they're doing is great. So I wanted to mention that at some point we're still coordinating. Everything's new, but we will be, just so people know about upcoming speakers, we'll do like a little, some short thing. We don't know the date. We don't know any of that yet. Just highlighting the speakers and their talk, so you can stay tuned. Just a little something that I wanted to do for them, and they said sure. We don't know the details yet, but I do want you to go ahead and sign up and check that out. So tell me how you met, how this all evolved, what kind of things, as far as the vision and where it's going, that especially involve our viewers, because I want them to be a part of this soul community, not only on this channel, but a part of what you're doing. And you're going to be having conferences online, and when all this mess goes away with the COVID, in person.
Right. So which one of us are you asking right now?
Whoever wants to go first.
Yvonne,
all right, I'll start. I'll start.
President, you can start.
And then I'll hand it over to Robert. I'm just going to add to Robert's story about how we came to found Spiritual Awakenings International. Yes, when I was nominated for president and I phoned Robert up and said, hey, would you like to run as a slate? Let's see what our vision is. We discovered our vision was very, very similar, very compatible. So we decided to run as a slate for president and vice president of IANS. But the election was still months off. But Robert and I both being multiple NDE experiencers and both of us being multiple STE experiencers get downloads, where spirit just gives us instruction, shall we say, and information.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah.
And we talk about that all the time in the show.
Yeah.
I say, look, try to, it's your birthright. Just go ahead, connect to where we're from, connect to the divine God, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Get your information. You don't need someone like me. I mean, it's great if you want to, but you don't have to. It's free.
Yeah. Well, so Robert is much more intuitive than he lets on. And, me had 5 NDEs. I'm highly intuitive. So anyway, on this was our first conversation about being a slate. Robert gets this massive download during the conversation. He says, you know what, Yvonne? You and I are being called. We're destined, as the word he used. We're destined. We're going to be starting another organization. And this sort of caught me by surprise. I didn't know this man. This was supposed to be a business phone call. And all of a sudden he's having this psychic download that we're destined to start another organization. And I said, well, I'm going to have to think about this. And truly, I'm going to have to meditate and pray about this, that I wasn't thinking that way at all. But of course, I went into meditation after our conversation, and immediately I got a download. And my download was yes, that we were being called by spirit to start another organization with a much broader mandate that was looking at all types of spiritual awakenings, all types of spiritually transformative experiences, not just NDEs. Yes, we look at NDEs, but they're only one type of experience.
Yeah.
People are having all sorts of mystical experiences, all sorts of psychic phenomenon, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, past life recall, UFO encounters. I mean, Kundalini awakenings. There's a whole spectrum of experiences people are having that I've been writing about for years. That this is what this new organization was supposed to encompass, the whole range of experiences that are happening to people today. And I was given the name of the organization. So this was before our second phone call. The name I was given by Spirit was Spiritual Awakenings International. So Robert and I have known this. It's like being given a sacred baby. That's sort of how I felt. We've been asked to parent this baby, but we didn't know when the baby was going to be born, right? That sometime in the future, and Spirit would guide us, that it seemed that we were going to be the parents, Mama and Papa, so to speak. I think of us as Mama Eagle and Papa Eagle. And this was baby Eagle, and that we didn't know when baby Eagle was going to be born. But then Spirit showed us when it was to be born. We were both elected president, vice president of IANS. We served there for a number of months, but it soon became very clear that was not the fit for us. We both resigned on the same day, with grace, and thanking everyone and wishing everyone well, March 27th of this year. And of last year, March 27th of 2020, we both resigned on the same day. And to me, that felt like there's this movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where right at the end they run off this cliff together. So I felt like Robert and I were like holding hands and running off this cliff together into the unknown. And we both knew we'd be launching Spiritual Awakenings International. So that's my little dramatic addition to Robert saying, well, yes, we launched it. There was a backstory to it. To me, that makes it even more special and even more sacred. The way that we were both given the vision for this mission, and then we got the clear guidance when we were to leave IANS. That was through Spirit as well. And then similarly, the day that we launched, I still remember I got clear instruction from Spirit. You're going to launch on June 15th. And I got that guidance on about June 12th, and we were not near ready to launch. And Robert can tell you, he took a deep breath. What? And I said, we've got to do it. That's the instruction from Spirit. So anyway, that is when we launched, and it's been wonderful. Anyway, Robert, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, and also we got a question from Clay and about the full panorama that will cover. I'm not really sure how you want to answer that. I mean, I've got actually a filled in on all of that the other day. So I don't know how much you want to cover. So maybe Robert, you could cover some of that.
I think I'm going to let Yvonne cover that.
Okay. Okay.
And
Okay.
then-
Better
and then
me. Hey.
I'll follow up a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay, so Spiritual Awakenings International, if you go to our website, we have this all explained on the homepage. But, you
Okay.
know, what we're looking at creating is we are experiencers. Okay, so this is by experiencers for experiencers, that we wanted to create a safe harbor where experiencers can come to be supported and validated, to learn more about diverse types of spiritual awakenings, what their after effects are, even finding a name. So many people, like when they read my book or they go to the SAI website, go, oh, that's what that's called. It's called
I did that too. I did that on a couple of things. The Kundalini, I wasn't really aware when that's what's been going on all these years. Okay. Yeah.
That's right. And so it's like making people in a more informed position, and also giving people names that are not like you're crazy or you're hallucinating or you're imagining it, which is what happens a lot when people first start having STEs, that nobody around them knows about it. So you get labeled as one of those things, or even work of the devil. That's awful. So we want to help inform people. We want to help raise consciousness, raise awareness. I mean, this is a spiritual awakening that's happening. So it is spiritual. And we do use the
timing.
word
we need it.
God, higher power. You know, those are words that are acceptable. And heaven, the afterlife, those are all things that we talk about, because to experiencers, this is reality. And so it's for also to promote networking globally, because this is a spiritual awakening that's happening all over the world. And it's not just in North America. And so it's been awesome to us that people have subscribed from 41 countries around the world, every continent except Antarctica. We're still waiting for the penguins to sign up.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And real quick, let me show them your book. I've got your book here, Touched by the Light. So you can see here, Dr. Yvonne Kason's book. It really does explain a lot, guys that have questions, because I thought I knew everything, not really, but a lot, because I've been at this for, I don't know, my whole life. But there was a couple of things that I didn't know, or I was like, she really defined. I mean, because you have 40 years of research. So
yeah. But I want to throw this back to Robert. Robert, you can tell them more about our Circle of Honor, our Veterans Program, our monthly speakers, the conference.
Actually, we are emerging so rapidly, and it just started less than a year ago, really, because it was March 27th, and we did something that's kind of unusual in the corporate world. Linda Truax, the secretary of IONS, had just term limited out, so when Yvonne and I both resigned from IONS, we picked up Linda Truax. So what happened? You had the president, vice president, and secretary of IONS basically leaving that organization and starting Spiritual Awakenings International. It was, and it had
heavy hitters.
It was a better fit for us.
Yeah.
And I've been amazed at what's happened. I am just going to tell you the people that have spoken or that are scheduled to speak are phenomenal people. And for example, this in 2020, it was an international lineup. We had somebody from Australia, somebody from England, somebody from the United States, and somebody from Canada. And that's what we do. We're appealing to an international audience.
Yes. Well, I mean, spirituality is not limited by continent.
And it just, I mean, I can't believe some of the countries, Liechtenstein, a small country in the world.
Yeah, there was a couple you mentioned. I didn't know where they were.
It was just, you wouldn't believe some of it. We have to actually get on we have to get on a
Google Maps.
and find out where is this place, and we have, and then we find out what language they speak, and Yvonne does an introduction at the beginning of each presentation where she says hello in the various different languages that are of the people that have subscribed, and then she says a goodbye with that. But we have got all types of things in the hopper. We've got the military first responders program. It launched on Veterans Day. It was a tremendous success. We have a first responder speaker, Dr. Richard Kelly, that's going to be speaking in May. And plus, we have our first conference scheduled.
Mhm.
We're going to do something that's kind of unique. We're going to do what is called an NDE Talking Dead panel, with the three of us are going to be
But
part
I
of it.
want I want the t-shirts. Actually, I know some of the people on the chat and they have a great sense of humor. Can we digress for a second? Because I think it's hysterical. I was like, when I
Yes.
heard this, I'm like, you guys are cool. You're okay. When you mentioned about the t-shirts and the premise, tell everybody about that. It's kind of a funny story.
Yeah, we actually, Yvonne came out here and spent a couple weeks out. I live in Oregon. She lives in Toronto, Canada. So she came out to Oregon, and I live in a little place called Newport, South Beach area, which is right on the ocean. And I was actually taking her back to the Eugene area to catch a flight the next morning, and there's a brewery here called the Rogue Brewery. And something just told me to take the exit. I took the exit. We went off to the brewery, walked in there, and this was on a Sunday. There was the public relations guy from the Rogue Brewery there. And we pitched the NDE Talking Dead panel, and they have a beer that's called the Dead Man's Ale. And he said, hey, look, if you
This is all true. You didn't know anything about
wear your
this.
t-shirts if you it doesn't matter. But the program is going to feature people that have passed and come back to life, and have a moderator, and it's going to be just an open forum, and I think it'll be really fun and probably informative for those people that want to hear from people that have passed and come back to life. And so that's starting in June. But like she said, we're in 41 countries. We have subscribers every day. We get them we had somebody from Colombia today, for example, down in South America. It's just amazing what happens. And we did do what is called a Circle of Honor, which is like a Hall of Fame for those people that have stuck their necks out all these years. For example, Dr. Yvonne Kason is one of them. But there's Edgar Casey was selected. We had Yogananda was selected. George Lucas was selected because of what he introduced with his Star Wars things about near-death experiences. We took a hard look at those people that have stuck their necks out, and we're going to acknowledge them with like a Hall of Fame type thing. And
They're
just
big names. They're very impressive, and there's people that have gone before us that I have a lot of respect for. Yeah, Danny Brinkley was another one, and
I think he's going to speak at our conference. So
yeah, that was one of the first books I read that I went, oh my gosh, I can secretly. There's someone that talks about beings of light that I can identify with. Yeah.
But anyways, I could talk much more about this, but because it's a passion.
Yeah.
It's a passion for me personally. I know March 27th, I got to thinking it was my birthday was March 21st. well, actually got 2 birthdays. March 21st is the day I was actually born. And then March 22nd was the day I died and came back to life, was revived and came back to life. So I was 72 on one birthday and 12 years old on the other.
Wow.
So, but at 72, I got to thinking, if we're going to do this thing, we ought to do it, because
Yeah.
I'm getting
Life
up
is
there.
for now. Life is
Yeah.
for now, which was
And-
really unusual, Robert, that my birthday is March 22nd.
Yeah.
And you were saying, and and then you're born the 21st, which means, I guess, I don't know, maybe we're alike. I don't know, but maybe. And so, but yeah, and then you said your death and kind of rebirth was the 22nd. So I mean, it could have been any date in the whole year. I just thought that was unusual.
But anyways, that is. I hope your subscribers will take the time to take a look at our website, to subscribe, and sign up for some of the presentations. They are so informative. It's just awesome. And I'm going to let Yvonne talk a little bit more. I've been dominating the conversation.
And one other thing, I'm excited to present this because anything, especially it's free. And nowadays with, the pandemic, people worried about money, this and that. You can't beat free. A lot of us are connecting. I'm in North Carolina. We've got Oregon and Canada this way. Of course, as you guys know, I connect with a lot of people around the world. We've had people from South Africa to UK, from wherever. And that's the positive side of all of this, but this is being offered to you so you can go online, and it is free. So I wanted to, that's one of the reasons I felt it just felt organically natural to be a fit, what was going on. And I also listen to Spirit, and I do. And that's my business plan. I listen to Spirit. And if I get the go ahead, I go. And if I get the nothing, especially silence, I wait till I get some answers. But this is something that is free, that can be offered to you. And go to www.spiritualawakeningsinternational.org, not com.org. Sign up for free. They're going to be having a lot of cool speakers once a month. I do want to get to a couple questions. People are freaking out to answer some questions, and we have 2 experts here. So do you mind if we digress and then we'll end again with SAI, because they're having a fit to have some questions. Oh my good. Okay. Interesting. Boy, Clay answered a big one. We're going to get to that one in a minute. That's a big one. So I wrote some stuff down. That's okay. So people are like, I want my questions. We're running out of time. Okay, look, if we go 5 minutes over, I think we'll be okay. But they really want their questions answered because they're demanding truth seekers.
Well, the George Lucas question is on the screen. Would you like me to answer that one?
Yeah, let me go through. I'm going to try to be, hold on just one moment, Dr. Kason. I want to do it in the order. There was one, so I don't forget, I'm going to try to get it in the order. There was one for Robert about, and you don't have to take it, but what was your life review like? You're like, oh boy, you're saying it was sucked.
It was a reckoning. I did not like what I saw, and when you interviewed me previously, I think I mentioned it was
a little bit, yeah.
It was. I could sense everything that I felt at the time it actually happened, and I could sense the thoughts and the feelings of the people that I affected. It was when you're a policeman and you have power, or I was a city manager or a professor, you have a lot of power and you don't realize the effect sometimes that you have on people. And I was not happy with what I saw. And I think that has a lot to do with how I changed my life when I came back to life. It's just...
you saw your dog. That was a bonus.
I did.
That was the thing you said that kind of brought you to tears, talking that you saw your puppy.
I did. I mean, it was wonderful. When I was watching these things, I saw something fidget off to my right, and I didn't know I finally looked, and there was my dog Scooter that had died.
Scooter, what a name.
And she was the greatest dog. And she couldn't come to me, but she was there.
And
And
when you saw her, did you see her with anybody, or was she just by herself going, hey?
she was with other people, other individuals, but I was focusing on her, and then I was trying to focus on my life review.
Yeah.
It was so intense, and
Wow.
so many things happened in that life review that, I mean, I being a policeman, you do a lot of things, especially when you work in Los Angeles and San Francisco and Oakland and places like that. It's not Mayberry RFPD, you're actually in there with the big time type things. And that's all I'm going to say.
Well, hey.
But it was emotional for me. Still is.
Well, with the life review, we don't have to wait for that. We can start kind of reviewing things now and seeing what we might want to change. So,
Yes.
kind of throw that out there. You don't have to wait. Thank you for that. And there is another question for you real quick. We're going down the line. So we're just going to go pop, pop, pop and answer them. Do you see UFOs, Robert, or have you seen one yet? Or Dr. Kason?
I think I probably have, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's all how we
That's
are.
on my bucket list.
we actually are going to have that be a subject matter at for April for our. If anybody's interested in it, we're having somebody that is an expert in it. So I think it'll be of interest to everybody.
Okay.
We have no dogma. SAI is.
Yeah, it's true. It's just an open flow of good energy and just sharing. It's really terrific. I will say there were some questions over here that were asking, but what is an experiencer? And that could be a near-death experiencer, spiritually transformative experiencer. But if you watch the Dr. Yvonne Kason's interview with me, she actually goes through that and explains it. So I don't want to be repetitive. And I'm also going to make you watch that and like it. Okay. So let's go do some other questions because I really do want to get through. People are asking a lot. Somebody who wants that dead man's, the L too. Okay, here we go. You know what? They're going to want that afterwards. So you may have to, off that for a fee of some sort. Okay. And then somebody said, I love this. I could stay up all night, Colleen, listening. Okay. So, okay. This is George Lucas. The question about George Lucas. Can you take that and I'll find that and then I'll go into Clay?
Yeah. The question was, has George Lucas talked about his near-death experience anywhere? To the best of my knowledge, he has not. So what I'm aware of is that in one of PMH Atwater's book, she talks about an interview somewhere that was published by George Lucas's father. And George Lucas's father talked about when George was a teenager that he was involved in a really serious car accident and he was almost killed and he was like unconscious or whatever, very seriously ill and hospitalized. But the thing is how he changed after that. So all of us before that, he was sort of like, not paying attention at school and getting into trouble and, sort of, not your he was a little bit of a wild and wacky one before the accident. After the accident, all of a sudden his personality changed and he started being interested in things like philosophy and spirituality. He went to university. And then, of course, he made these films where he accurately depicts almost the whole spectrum of STEs. He's got clairvoyance, he's got clairaudience, he's got transdimensional experiences, he's got psychokinesis, he's got telekinesis, he's got near-death experiences, he's got mystical experiences, he's got bilocation. I mean, there are so many types of SDEs in his films. And so I knew intuitively, and as a doctor, as a researcher, this man could not have made a movie. George Lucas could not have made a movie about the whole spectrum of STEs, or anyone was writing about them unless he was having them.
Yeah.
And he was depicting it so accurately. So I didn't know about the NDE till quite recently. So to me, he depicts the after effects of someone who's had a powerful STE. So I think he had an NDE in that crash. But we have a circle of honor, but it's hard to reach him. He's decided to be a hermit and out of the public eye, and that's his privacy. We'd love to get to them though to talk about it if anyone has a connection to George Lucas.
Absolutely. Well, you know what, Spirit, we'll make that happen. I totally believe that. So to finish up on the second half, and then I want to ask about, there's a past life question. I think this was for you, Robert, about did the review, was it your first NDE, your second, because you've had 3 and 2 of them were kind of in the same day, but still counts.
It was my first one when I was deceased for over 45 minutes.
Got it. Okay. And so the second one, no. Okay. And they're all different. All experiences are different. All right. So here we go. What is the role the subject of past life regression may take in the SAI? And before you say anything, just a little comment here. I saw so much popping up through my life that I actually had regression, and I have reams of volumes in detail because I knew it was there. It was sitting right there. But when they're so unusual and you have bilocation, different realities, I mean, where do you store that? What do you do with that? And so it's all sitting there. So I'm kind of a big proponent of it. I will say next live chat, but it's going to be pretty good. Next live chat, and as well as you endorse his book, Dr. Yvonne Kason, but we have near-death experiencer Jacob Cooper, and he's going to be doing a live group past life regression of a time that people won and they were happy and they achieved. So we're going to do a group regression. So that should be fun. But tell us about with SAI, what's your stance on that?
Well, I'll take the first stab at that. One of our speakers at our conference, which I wanted to tell everybody, it's going to be an online conference, obviously in June because of the pandemic, and it's going to be free. So, it's not going to be some huge cost. And one of our speakers is going to be talking about past lives. I think the spectrum, those that are spontaneously remembered. He himself is a past life regression therapist, Simon Bown, who has the Past Lives podcast. And he also is going to be talking about his favorite thing to do with past life regression, which is when people remember the between life. That's his real special interest. Yeah. But many people, I just want to say here, once they've had an awakening STE, will start spontaneously unblocking past life memories. And past life regression sometimes can help if, like you say, Tamara, that it's close to the surface, or you can just sense there's something there, but you're having trouble surfacing. So sometimes a trained past life regression therapist could help you. But yeah, past lives and awareness of past lives is absolutely a part of the spiritual awakening that's happening.
And tell me again, Simon's full name again, Simon.
It's Bown, like brown without an R, Bown. And it's the Past Life podcast is what his show is called.
So you guys check that out because he's part of the SAI group and check that out.
He's
And I'm
affiliated
sure I'll
with-
get to meet him. I'm excited about that because I do believe in that. And I have done in between lives, but it is so way out there weird that you guys will never hear it. Well, let's just put it this way. I need to go in. I need to have a lot more subscribers before I start losing people because it is way out. It is way out there. So Robert and Dr. Kason, you may hear it maybe, but I have done that. And it is way out there. Okay. So we'll have to wait to entertain that later on. Let's see if there's anything. I will say there were some very sweet comments about your dog and about how he was there to comfort you. And I think so, because it must have been a difficult period. You said difficult to see that. So they let him present himself for joy, help you through it. That's very sweet.
It was, and when I talked about it on that TV show, I Survived Beyond and Back. I did not know how that touched so many people. But the next day, after it showed, some of my friends said, Robert, Mark Levin was talking about your show and seeing your dog. You seen your dog. And then the same thing with another talk show host, Michael Savage talked about it. It resonated with a lot of people. Especially those that love their animals, and I'll tell you what, it really resonated with me because I've been a dog lover my whole life. I've always had a dog, and they're special, and it was really nice to see her there.
I bet your heart was so full.
I had no idea.
Wow. And then we're bringing it back. It looks like, okay, look at this one. Well, some people think past life is a waste of time. I say, whatever. I can only answer what I did. It was not. I was getting strips of information, and it was like writing an outline to a book, which I've done that. And it's like filling in, which I've done most of that, but filling it in. This, look, people that have had experiences, we're still going through stuff too, I mean, this is an evolution with us, and I am not perfect, and I just try to, be of service and try to be genuine, but I'm still going through my own stuff, like we are, until we're not here, while we're here, it's just the way it goes. We have also, I do want to mention this about animals. A lot of people report, including myself, and people that aren't really that into this or spiritual, want to talk about these matters, have felt the presence of their animals afterwards, where their cats brushing up against them. I felt pitter, pitter, patter, patter on the bed. I've had a couple moments where they were not good. I felt like that I was, a down moment, which I don't have a lot of those, I feel the dog. I feel like reassuring. So, and I always kind of know which one it is. It's the one I was closest to for about 20 years, Larry, but they do come to reassure you, and so do cats. My mom gets it. She still gets phantom. She gets phantom paw things, the whole bit, needing and all that, from a cat she once had that was really cool. Was more like a dog. He would sit upright and watch TV with you. So, our animals are still very much so a part of us. Now, let's go back to SAI. And Olivia says, we have endless possibilities. So yes, this is just this is still in its infancy, although you two are not in your infancy. You're experts in the in the field of, it's spiritual awakenings, so many. So, but it is building. People are excited. There's enthusiasm. So please, do sign up. It's free. I mean, I don't know, maybe one day it won't be free, but it's definitely free for right now, and free as long as they can have it free. So that would be Spiritual Awakenings International. I know we've got about 9 minutes over. And again, one last thing before we do final words and say goodbye, I want to also say, buy Yvonne's book on Amazon. It's good. You won't want it. A lot of books, and hers really covers a lot. She does it in a way that's not, it's easy to read, I think. She just covers it by chapters. You could even honestly, skip a chapter and go to the section you want. It's very well presented. And I look and read a lot of books by authors, and not all of them are written well. I just say that, but hers is written really well. I never told you that, so it's written very well.
Why, thank you.
So, look, is there any final last words, and then we'll tell everybody goodbye?
Yes, something's been bubbling in me. Spirit is prompting me to say, so I'd like to say that before we close, which is about past life memories and about how they're so common in people who've had some sort of spiritual awakening that they start to happen. And the types of situations where people will start getting past life memories is, number one, if you meet somebody that it seems that you've known in a past life, that'll often be a trigger to you getting spontaneously start remembering a past life with that person who you've just met. Another time it tends to happen is if people travel somewhere, they go to some location on the planet, like I traveled to Europe to this one particular castle once, and then boom, all of a sudden I'm having memories of several hundred years ago being at this particular castle. So those are very, very common triggers. And the other thing is that we're all growing, and after you've had a spiritual awakening, my belief is, and many people's belief is, that your personal growing and learning speeds up. But we're not only learning lessons from this life, we're carrying on from past lives, lessons that we never completed in our past lives. So that when these past life memories start coming up spontaneously, I found it's usually, if you look at it, it's going to help you in terms of what you're meant to learn and grow in this life, that maybe that you don't repeat the same mistake that you did in the past life. Or maybe the same sort of thing happened in the past, but this lifetime, your spiritual work is to forgive, that to forgive other people for being imperfect, because we too are imperfect. So anyway, I talk about this all in my book, but Spirit was prompting me to share a little more about past life memories.
I would love to do just something, just on that. And I love Clay's comment here. The past life reveals the common thread that is the real you. And I agree. Robert, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing about that. It's when two people recognize each other. And I'm going to give you an example. We had someone speak for SAI named Raymond O'Brien, and a wonderful person. He's from England. I was from Oregon, the Oregon coast. I was in Philadelphia. He was in Philadelphia. We were in a bar. I walked into the bar. We saw each other, and our eyes just met. And I went right up to him, and we hugged each other. I said, I know you. And he says, I know you too. And when you see somebody that you recognize, and if they recognize you, enjoy the moment, because I really enjoyed that time I had with Raymond. We just had a beer and sat down and had a really nice time talking to one another. And just like two ships passing in the night, here they are right there. But it was in Philadelphia. So we just happened to be there. So
I think your soul recognizes when you see something in someone's eyes. I just quickly have to tell you a very odd story, because it's the oddest one that I've heard, and it's worth it. I went to, years ago, it was, they were having like a ghost tour, whatever, but it was at an old theater. And I just want to see the old theater because I don't really care about that. And it ended up not really being that. We ended up watching a movie at this old theater, and I just wanted to see the history. And it was outside of Charlotte. And so we were meeting at this group, whatever this meetup thing was. I had never done this meetup before, and I wanted to see this very historical theater. So we met at a Thai restaurant. We go and we sit down. I don't know any of these people, don't know anyone. And I'm sitting there, and this very petite woman from Thailand keeps looking at me. And I'm outside, I'm not in my city. And she keeps staring at me, really petite. She keeps coming by, and we keep locking eyes. And finally, it was the most organic. I have to tell you, it was the oddest and the most beautiful thing. She comes up to me, and when she finally, people were asking me questions. And then, and finally, when I had a moment and I was sitting there, she comes up to me, and this is the conversation. I'm so happy to see you. How has your life been till now? I must show you something. And she brings out this book and shows her artwork where she is, she carves into coconuts and does these amazing things. And at that moment she said it, I went into this thing and I said, I've missed you so much, my sister. How have you been? I love you. I'm so proud of you. And she goes, well, I mean, this is how it went. There was no like precepts.
That was Raymond and I.
It was amazing. And it was kind of, I'm telling you, it's odd. And this is exactly how it went. She goes, oh, I'm going to show you. I said, you're so talented. Well, your hands and your skills. She goes, oh, but I'm a grandmother now. I'm old. And I said, oh, you know how that goes. We all get old. And he's, but you're not old for long. And she says, will you see me again? I miss your face. He said, I have something. I think of you and I think of the sunshine. And we were once on the beach. And people are looking at me like, who the hell is she doing me? Like, am I Buddha? Look, it's like I do this every. I felt so much love for her. And she wanted to show me her whole family. She brought out her whole family. And she says, till we see each other again. That was a random thing. That was just my soul knew. And it was absolutely beautiful. And people were like, I'm at this new meetup and they were looking at me like, this is strange, because they were observing, because people are nosy. And, but it was absolutely tender. It was tender. It was from another time. It was very tender. So there's so much magic out there, guys. There's so much magic and beauty. And that's why I say focus on the positive, focus on your journey, which is the biggest journey you'll ever have. Don't focus on this stuff out here in the news or this. There's always something going on. And every decade, it's always something. So don't be a part of that conversation. Be a part of, create your own dialogue, and one that's created around beauty and love. Look, thank you both so much for coming on. We're going to see a lot more of you. You're going to be on a lot. Robert, I hope that we didn't interrupt our agenda here, but I like this so much better to have Dr. Yvonne Kason on. Is that, hopefully that was okay. And they got to see you two working together. And
that's great.
Oh, good. Well, you know, I'm just so humbled and flattered that just to be in your presence and to be a part of you guys in any way, because I believe in what you're doing. And you're incredible experts, but the caliber of people that you are even speaks more volume. So I wish you many blessings, and I will support you in any way that I can. And have a lovely evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for staying later. And remember, next time we're going to have the premiere Thursday at 4 p.m. and then 6 to 7 is the live chat. We're going to do a past life regression. Look, I don't know how that's going to go. We're going to have fun, and we're going to have more to come. So, and then we're going to be presenting some SEI speakers. So don't know about that yet, but I'll let you know. So thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful evening.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye. Love.